Welcome to Five Formations. It's myself, Culture Cams. I'm joined, of course, by the legend himself, Rio Ferdinand. How are you today, mate?
I'm good. I'm waiting to see what you got cooked for me, man.
Big shout out to Secret Scout for providing the board that we'll be using to break down Manchester United versus Roma 7-1. I'm sure every United fan watching cannot forget that night.
You know we were 2-1 down from the first leg, by the way.
Yep. So if you actually think about the way you guys exploded, because scored so early into the game, 11 minutes into the game, and it completely just set Roma back. But let's get into that actually. What was the mentality? So you went to Stadio Olimpico, lost 2-1. Yeah. Scholes got sent off within 30 minutes, pretty much.
Well done, Scholes.
And it was very, very pointless sending off 2 yellows. But what was the mentality going back into Old Trafford? Like, what did Fergie say to you guys?
Well, firstly, going to the Stadio Olimpico was a tough game then. You remember Totti was there, prime time. Mancini was playing wide. Vucinic up front. They had some really, really good players. Quick wide players especially.
Mancini.
But in the Stadio Olimpico, we knew it was going to be tough, because a little detail as well was normally you'd give away a throw on and you jog back, get set in positions, etc., and you'd be fine and wait for it. But in the Stadio Olimpico, they used to prime the ball boys and ball girls up with balls ready. So when the ball went out, the Roma team would get the balls immediately, quickly, and then restart the game quickly and catch people off guard. And we'd seen through the research and data that they'd been doing that quite often. It was a key part of their game at home. So we knew it was going to be tough. And we got beat in the end. Yes, Scholes got sent off 2-1. But the away goal was something that you come away from a game away from home, which has changed now. Yeah. But that away goal was massive. To get that. And you mentioned what was the mindset coming into the game at Old Trafford. These type of games, the main thing other than the tactics, one of the main details was we play at Man United's pace, which is fast, explosive, direct. The turnovers, the transition had to be quick and direct. They can't live with us at this pace because they don't play that week in, week out if we do that. And we were confident in that if we started like that, and like you say, the early goal, 11 minutes, Carrick steps up and scores. But we knew we had to be on it, and we knew that we had a much more energised, quicker, more dynamic team than them. But if you don't start right, they have players like Rossi, Totti, Vucinic who can play and can get on the ball and pass the ball and cause you big problems. That Rossi and Pizarro, if you give them time, they could dictate any game, but we knew physically we could overpower and overrun them too, especially in that middle of the park. And we managed to do that.
And I remember there's some quotes of Fergie talking before the game, and he's like, he wants the Roma players scared once they get off the plane. He said he wants the staff at whatever airport they get off saying, laughing at them. You're not gonna, no way, you're coming to Old Trafford, you're not gonna win. What was Fergie's mindset in them type of Champions League nights? Because this is arguably, you can say one of his most memorable results in Europe. In a game like this, what does Fergie say to you?
He's talking about the pace of play a lot of the time. I think you can get too bogged down in tactics. And he identified these two as being very good with the ball if you give them time. But he wanted our midfield, bang, right up against them. And then as soon as we won the ball, run off them. And they will never be able, these two would never be able to stay with Carrick. Running off from that midfield position.
That's how a goal came.
That's vitally important. I think when you got Carrick and Fletcher who have got legs, they can run. Fletcher especially, his engine was ridiculous. Often not spoken about enough for what he gave our team. The moment we won the ball, you'd watch that game and you can see the bodies, Ji-sung Park, etc., all flying forward. I mean, listen, we had players that you can say
technically,
you could go. They're not going to be on Rossi's level. But they give you other aspects.
Touching on Fletcher, because of course Fletcher didn't start the first leg because of Scholes was playing. Fletcher's engine, as you mentioned, was key, and it allowed Ronaldo to be coming inside. Because in this game, Ronaldo was coming inside so much, and Rooney was out wide there, and Giggs was playing kind of like inside in a 3 while Carrick was sitting. Do you think Fletcher's engine, because he was getting in around here, he was getting in around anything. Would you think it was a big difference? Because Scholes would kind of be more central and kind of dictate the game. Do you think that might have been a key?
A big thing for someone like Cristiano was we had to. When you play with someone like Cristiano, you've got to allow him. You can't just pin him wide.
Yeah,
you have to allow him the freedom to be able to come in those pockets and cause a De Rossi, a Pizarro, the wide man, a fullback problems and ask the questions. If he stays here, it's simple for me to see him.
Yeah.
But the moment he starts coming in there and in and around these areas, he's asking other players questions, right? And then all of a sudden, when we lose the ball, you have to have the ability, the physical capability, the understanding as a midfielder, Fletcher especially, come out and cover that area for Cristiano. And the team kind of shuffles over and compensates for that, and you allow them the space over there. Leave that space. But you need a Fletcher, somebody who's got the physical capabilities, but the mindset and the mentality to be able to do that and sacrifice parts of their game. So without someone like a Fletcher, it's not as effective, 100%.
And, like a lot of times, when you talk about tactics or you talk about coaching and stuff, people don't really kind of give Ferguson the credit in terms of him tactically in that side of the game. But I think what was super key, and obviously you would have noticed as well, is that Carrick, as I mentioned, it started as a 4-4-2, but Rooney was actually the one that was wide. Alan Smith was here. Ronaldo was around here. And it was actually Giggs. And he actually got, I think, 4 assists in this game. He was immense in this game. And they didn't know where to pick him up. No. He was just kind of floating in these areas here. And, I mean, he ran riot pretty much.
That's what I mean. So you've got someone like Wayne Rooney, who their wide areas were their, other than Totti, was their most dangerous area. So the manager was like, listen, I can trust Wayne Rooney to do that and come back and help. Cassetti would get on as well, the right back from Roma.
Him all game.
He'd track him all game. But he also knew the cuteness of someone like a Giggs. I said it on the other side with a Ronaldo, being able to come into pockets where he's asking 3 or 4 players, who's going to come to me? Are you going to come? Are you going to come out of there and leave that space there? Or are you going to come out here and mark me? Giggsy was unreal at that. In them positions there where he'd come in and say to the opposing team, come and find me. And like you say, I think 4 assists he got in the game because of those positions and coming in those areas. The security of these two behind, not having to look over his shoulder and worry about going backwards, he then could free up other players. And Giggsy was phenomenally
like
intelligent.
Years old at that time.
The intelligence that he had was, and intelligence comes in different ways. The most intelligent players can play different positions as well, and he was just someone who could pick it up the game, the pace of the game so quickly and so easy. But I think an important point to say as well is when you look at the formation, say starting, maybe it was like that, but when you look at it, their most influential player was Totti, and the biggest thing for us was if I just clear the area here a little bit, then you play Vucinic would be up top against us centre-backs, and Totti will be in here. And as soon as the ball, so I'll clear this a bit for you, so you can see it more clearer. There's the wide men who are very, very, very good players, especially Mancini on this side. And they were quick. As soon as the ball went in to Totti, he played 1 touch or 2 touch max, but mostly 1 touch round the corner into these areas, into these behind me and Wes Brown and the fullbacks. For these two immediate, as soon as the ball went into him, these guys just done that. So we just had to be aware that every time the ball went into him, if Michael Carrick couldn't get around him, a lot of the time we'd be waiting for those runs and we might just take a step back, expecting that ball to come because he didn't really go into his feet. So we thought if we could nullify that and wait for those runs to come, we'd sniff out the danger, and we really they didn't get an opportunity to really do that. So
going into a game, because I specifically remember a moment actually when Totti got the ball here, and let's say this is Michael Carrick, it come in behind him. Vucinic wasn't around here, so it come behind him, and there was a runner just off. He was occupied by their fullback. Ronaldo's gonna do whatever he's doing. He's not really going exactly. He's gonna cheat. Totti received the ball in this area, and there was a runner off Darren Fletcher, let's say. You were in a position where, do I press or do I follow the runner? You made the decision at that moment to follow the runner. Totti turned, but he gave it to the runner, and it was a dead cross in the end, and it was fine. But in those positions, is it a split-second decision, or do you know I'm just going to have to follow the runner every time?
That's where your your research comes. That's where I'm watching videos. You've watched a couple of videos with the team, but you go to the analysis guy who now they're embedded in every club, and you go, give me videos of when Totti receives the ball and what his end product's like.
Okay.
And I want to see also his relationship with his number 9 and his wide men. All of the plays that they've done the last 3 or 4 games and goals and chances created. I want to see him. And so you just look at all you're looking for is habits. All you're looking for is repetitive features in their game. I'm looking at Totti, which way does he prefer to turn, right or left? But also I'm looking at once he turns, what's his favourite ball?
Yeah.
I know he wants to get on his right foot predominantly, and he wants to be able to pick out that ball there or that ball there. That's why when the ball came into him, listen, he's got a great shot on him. Totti, if he's past a certain point, invariably I know he wants to play that pass because he, like Berbatov,
he's a cute player.
He gets as much joy out of an assist as a goal.
Yeah.
If I know that that's, I don't know, Suarez or like a Lewandowski or someone or Harry Kane, they're going to want to bang that from there because they want to score goals. Do you know what I mean? But there's other players that you look at and go, I actually think I'll take a chance he's going to want to pass that ball. So what I'll do, instead of going tight into him, I'll drop waiting to be ready for that runner. And hope there's a delay. I've delayed enough for a Carrick or a Fletcher to come back in, or for my partner to come across and deal with that ball. And it's just working out the lesser of the two evils. And then it's about making that right decision. But I base it on a lot of the work I've done before the game to see the habits.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that you were always given a lot of credit for as well, in terms of you didn't dive in. You didn't always just press. You sometimes waited for the game to come to you and see, and you jockey, and we know how much of an athlete that you were. So at those moments, you rely on that kind of aspect because you knew you can get in a foot race with Mancini or whoever it was that it was put down to. So I think that is key aspect. But let's go through the first goal, actually. So you passed the ball to Cristiano, and then Fletcher ran off him. All right? So it was easy. But then I want to just quickly touch on that before anything, because they were set up like this. Honestly, they were set up like this. You and Wes Brown had the freedom of Old Trafford when in for the first goal. So in those type of games where you know you're not going to get pressed, do you now just get in that mentality where I need to just be, ball playing all game? Or what is the mentality there when you know you're going to get on the ball, you're going to have time to turn, you're going to have time to pick out a pass? Is it more difficult in ways to pick out the correct pass, or is it like just second nature?
Do you know what? It's a lot of because they were trying to mark and stop balls into Carrick.
Into Michael Carrick,
and into Darren Fletcher, right? And so as soon as I get the ball here, my first thought always when I had the ball as a centre-back anyway was trying to find these players in between the lines. I wanted to break the line, and normally the midfielders would be a bit higher, but as an Italian team, Roma, they were quite deep like that. But a lot of the time you'd have their midfield up against ours, and they'd be coming to us, and the strikers would be like that. And then that creates this space here for a Rooney, for a Tevez, for a Ronaldo coming in there, for a Ryan Giggs coming in there. That's my favourite ball. And I want to be able to go bang or clip it over into that number 10 spot. If you watch the games I played years ago, that was one of my favourite balls. It's a bit of a risky ball, but I know the reward. If I get it there, my number 10 or my number 9 or 11 or 7 is running at their back four. That's all I used to love. And it would come off a lot, but then if you get caught sometimes, it could be dangerous because they could transition and break against you. But you have to play that risk if you're going to be the best team. But again, in this situation when they're deep as well, so there isn't that space in there, you've got to just play your short balls.
Yeah.
These guys have got to get free.
Here.
They've got to get free. Or Ronaldo, like I said, comes inside and creates that question for their midfielders. Are you going to come? Are you going to come? And then it's about split decisions. If they don't make the right decision quick enough, I'll find that ball.
And that's exactly what you did. You gave the ball in through to Cristiano Ronaldo, and we know what he was like. People may forget in this day and age, but back then he was a crazy dribbler. He was quick. He could do everything. So you played it into him, and he drove into midfield. And as you mentioned, they were just kind of focusing on Michael Carrick. And Totti, I mean, he's a striker at the end of the day. He's going to cheat a little bit. He's going to be a bit lazy. He just run off him. Ronaldo's here, has about occupying 2 men. And Carrick just runs off him, gets the ball in this kind of area through past Ronaldo, and then the finish, dug it out top bins. And I actually think that was Mike Carrick's probably best game for United. Like that was.
It was his most productive in terms of goals, and I think what was a big part of it was that quickly we realised these aren't going to be quick enough. They're not dynamic enough to play against us. And the moment the game develops and actually we can push up as a back four once that ball goes into Cristiano Ronaldo, we were like, you can go, Carras go, because Totti's not going to run away from me or Wes Brown, nor Vucinic. So it was very, very kind of, I have the ability to move into that area a bit further forward, and because we're 2-1 down, by the way, so we're chasing the game. So we're aggressive.
Trafford used to be different, man. You come there, you get carried out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we were we had to be aggressive, and Carras couldn't stay here. We needed to create overloads in that part of the pitch. So Carras was free and had the free reign to run on, and that first goal was a good sign of that.
And in the first leg, actually, something that I noticed, and I don't know if it's something that you would have noticed as a player as well, is the first leg, O'Shea was centre-back with you. The second leg, O'Shea was actually the right-back and Wes Brown went into the centre-half. Brown was the right-back in the first leg. But in the second leg, O'Shea was playing really high up, super high up, and Ronaldo would drop into these areas and Fletcher would come in and around. Was that something that maybe Fergie spoke with you about? Did you prefer playing with like a Wes Brown over?
I played with Wes Brown. Yeah, I played with Wes Brown more. I was more used to playing with Wes. But I think Shazy, you have to remember when Shazy first came into the team, he used to play left back most of the time, and he was doing step overs and nutmegging Figo at the Bernabeu. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Remember the goal? I think he had a chance.
Remember against Arsenal?
Yeah,
his goal against Arsenal, the chip,
the Newcastle away. Like he was very, very comfortable. And Shazy is so underrated outside of Old Trafford. He could play right back. He could play left back, he could play centre back, he could play centre midfield holding.
It's like kind of like what Aspilicueta kind of does at Chelsea
or Milner.
in a way.
Milner,
maybe
Liverpool.
Like
and you need, without those players, you don't win big things. Trust me. So you need those type of players. And Shazy, again, play high, accustomed to doing that. Wes was probably more of a defensive-minded player, so it made sense because we knew this game we wanted our fullbacks up here.
Yeah. That was definitely a key, and I don't think Roma. And as I said, I think Fergie sometimes doesn't get his credit for being tactically nous, but in these European games, they would have expected a 4-4-2 again, and the way that it drops into a 4-3-3. Like when you look at even in the game, in today's game, it's very system-based, it's very instructions from the manager. We know what Pep Guardiola does, Klopp does. But when Carrick makes that run, that's an instinctive decision. That's an in-game kind of decision from the player. That wasn't something that was necessarily instructed from Fergie, or do you think maybe back then players were a little bit more,
I think
making decisions by themselves?
Alex Ferguson very much said that this is how I want you to play. This is the tactic. This is, if you're going to win, this is what we need to do. But then as soon as the ball went over the halfway line, especially, I've brought you here because you're talented and you make the right decisions at the right times. So he's not telling you how to do it, but he is saying get the ball in their box. Little details make their defenders have to defend. Run off people. Do you know what I mean? And then it's picking the right times. And the best players in the world pick the right times to do it. It's timing and decision making. So with and without the ball. And in that game, you just smelt, we can overrun these. These ain't going to have to live with us. And then that situation, then when Mark Carrick moves further forward, that's in-game, totally.
We won't talk about the last goal for De Rossi that you were involved in.
That great finish.
The one that you were a couple yards off, but we won't talk about...
I was touch tight. It was just a great finish. He was facing his own goal and scored.
It was an amazing goal. But one really super interesting fact about this game is that was Cristiano Ronaldo's first 2 ever Champions League goals. Ever. And now he's gone and scored 130 something.
Owns it now, doesn't he?
That is crazy. 2007, he went like 28 games without scoring in Champions League. He's now the highest scorer of all time, which is absolutely amazing. But Ferguson described this game as a 10 out of 10. Half a dozen in your career do you get a 10 out of 10 performance when everyone is perfect. He said 8 out of an 11-man team, you can have 8 that place very well. 3 can be carried as long as they work hard. But in this game, every single player was perfect.
Yeah, he said after in the change room, I spoke about this on Viber 5 before, we were all sitting down, you know what it's like, you just won a game, you're qualified, big score, everyone is buzzing in the change room. And then the manager come in and shut the door and said, lads, quiet. Very rare, if ever, you'll get this type of feeling, performance in your career. This might be the first and last time you ever get it. So enjoy it, cherish it, and left us with that. And it never happened again. in my career. So like, it is exactly what he said. Every player was at least an 8 out of 10, all on fire, all contributing in all different ways, and it was just an amazing. This game stands out under the lights at Old Trafford.
Where would you put that in your career games?
As a performance, I'd say that I wouldn't know many better for the whole 90 minutes. Obviously, other games meant more, and you won Champions League finals and whatnot. But this game was just like, wow, man! You can't put it into words how it just felt easy. No disrespect to Roma, they were a fantastic side at the time, hard team. But when you click like that, doesn't matter who you're playing against, they get torn apart.
And there it is, guys. Let us know in the comments which games you want us to break down and get into. It could be some losses. I mean, there's been some. Rio's been on the receiving end of a few. But listen, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we are out.